yellow again. And let's see now, colour. I think maybe even a little bit of yellow ochre this time. So that's what yellow ochre looks like. And then I might put a touch of the burnt sienna into it. I'm looking at the colour on Layla's chest there, the V, and considering where the V will sit in relation to the face too. So maybe something there, a little bit more I think. Maybe a touch of cadmium red into it as well to warm it up just a little bit more. You know, so it looks a little bit warmer. Okay. Alright, and with half closed eyes, I'm trying to now bring some of that same depth of tone into other places so that everything is given. I feel like the light is coming from here a little bit, and we've got a diagonal shadow running across the neck that's, you know, the cast shadow of the head is casting a shadow onto the neck. Yeah, and there's some little changes as well that I can make. Okay, so let's see now. With that same warm colour, I'm just going to kind of place it in another few places too. Let's see. Maybe finding the cheek. Okay, but one of the things, and you might come up against this, I've decided I need to change the edge here a little bit. So what I'm seeing now is a slightly more sloped edge to the face here, and the neck coming out a little bit further, so we can make that happen. And it might be that I just need to adjust my easel, or, you know, so feel free to do that, but I think it's helpful to make an adjustment in the painting, you know. So let's see. At the Van Dyke brown, and the ultramarine blue, and the Van Dyke brown. And I think I might start actually with over here, where the hair meets the neck, and it's coming in here. Of course, the forehead is a bit wet now since I've just put paint on it. I think it's all right still. And anchoring down a little bit that way. Okay. And then I'm aware that I'm working my way down to here, but also trying to find the shape of things around that, around the shape of the skin. So isolating the shape that the skin is, and considering how I'm going to adjust this bit then. And it might be that the mouth will also shift a little bit for me too. Okay, so Sarah, are you happy with the position of everything? Yeah. So I'm just going to pull in the hair to meet from the eyebrow down to the eye. There's a little edge there where I can see the hair beyond the face. And I want the edge where the face meets the hair to be the edge that we're seeing. So I'm just going to kind of dissipate. Well, I'll just put some water into. Actually, forget that. What am I doing now? I'm going to make it go like this, so to kind of explain a little bit the curve of the cheekbone, but I'm not completely at home with what happened here, so I'm just going to kind of lose that a little bit again. I mean, remember that, you know, it's water, it's not the end of the world, like whatever it'll do won't be too dramatic a thing, and you can let it dry and work over it. Okay, so if I'm to try and adjust chin here, I want to see its relationship to the cheekbone. And maybe it's just that the neck is needing to extend a little bit further out, actually. I'm just seeing where the neck is in relation to the eyebrow above. Touch of the eyebrow coming in like that. And I think the eyebrow needed to lift a little bit as well. And each time you do a little bit, each time you go back and do the next session with your painting, you might find that there's things that you're noticing that you're not following the lines that you've done already, but you're looking freshly every time, and making any adjustments that you need to make. Okay. And I think anytime you start to feel yourself getting a little bit kind of drawn into some particular thing, I think that's a sure sign to keep a radar up for that desire to chase something. And it's a great time then to do something general somewhere else. And often what you do elsewhere will inform the part that you might have been worrying over or something. What was I going to do now? I suppose maybe I put in a little bit more of the shadow there. And there's the dark here too. And the dark in the socket of the eye could be maybe established a little bit more clearly. So deepening the tones in general, and finding, as I move around the face again, finding any little differences, little touches that could be made darker, little areas of skin that could be, that could be given some colour maybe. I generally tend to do like the eye maybe a little bit more detailed after lunch, but I could do, well, I've only got 4 minutes now. I was thinking maybe I could bring something up into a little bit more detail. But yeah, so the neck was going to come over there, wasn't it? So you could use if you've got these kind of craft brushes, you could use those in order to lift off. So for example, say I want to lift the edge of the neck here so that it sits further forward. And another thing, you could always remember too that you've got the option, if everything is running in one direction, you might want to turn it that way for a while. So, and actually turning a thing on its head is a great idea. It makes you feel like, oh, that's all right, I can just go have a wander around. And it does pull the painting, and it'll do something different, you know. You might even sometimes want to paint in, say for example that eyebrow, I think I wanted it to be higher. No, I'm not going to do that. I was going to try and drop it in, but sure, if it's dark in the wrong place, then I might be making work for myself. But you could turn it diagonally as well and have the rays going in a different direction altogether. But we were talking about lifting off the edge of the neck, and already I think it's even enough lifted off that if I was to put a bit of dark in the hair, so I'm mixing almost like an Indian ink consistency. If you want something sometimes to read as light, simply deepening the dark beside it will accentuate the brightness. And so if I want the neck to read, because this is actually one of the darkest parts of the painting, I would say, is where the hair meets the light on the neck there. So I can afford to deepen the tone of that. And like I was saying earlier, that will encourage other parts of the painting to be given, you can place the darks elsewhere. You can play with the big brush, you can put on a large area of dark. When you've applied on, when you put on a sharp contrast in one area, it's lovely then that it can kind of encourage you to do something deep in tone somewhere else. And maybe give you a bit of courage. Okay, so I do have just over 2 minutes. What would be helpful? When you were thinking of doing something else, what did you find? You were someone who suggested it. Oh yeah, so I've not done anything like that, have I? It's just the same all over again. And I suppose I do find that it's helpful to do that. But do you think, Layla, instead of 2 minutes, I could take another 2, so 4 altogether from now? Is that okay? And I'll just do, if it's okay with everybody, I'll do a quick indication of what I might try and how you could explain an eye with these flat brushes, and this way of working. I do recommend that you try and keep everything coming up together, including the eyes, but for the purposes of this, it would be good, wouldn't it, to have some level of completion maybe And I'm choosing this eye because I think that might be a bit wet still. Well, maybe it's not. I'll just do this one. Okay, so I'm using the, I think it's a 1/2 inch brush. And to find the position of the eye, it helps me to first be clear about where the eyebrow is, where the nose is, because it's within that space that the eye is going to sit. So I'm just going to see if I can find where I would place the nostril there. And I'm making it a different colour from the colours that are already on the nose so that it'll stand out a bit for me. Because I want to be able to see the field within which the eye is going to, from which the eye will emerge. I don't know where I put my Van Dyke brown. I need to replenish it here. Can I leave it on the table? Or I think I maybe left it over here. Because I find that's a helpful colour with the blue to make a nice sharp kind of a dark colour with the ultramarine blue. So I'm going to use some of that Van Dyke brown and ultramarine blue to explain the dark of the nostril that sits here, and looking at its position in relation to the other one, and also in relation, say, to the the dark of the line dividing the lips. And each time looking freshly to see, is it still in the position where I thought it was? Maybe it's slightly adjusted. And then I'm going to push and lift to make the dark of the eyebrow. And I need a little bit more blue in there because I want it to read as being, the dark tone that it is, that eyebrow. So pushing and lifting, and pushing and lifting. So we've got the two directions of the eyebrow for a start. I mean, the other direction is just explained with the shadow for now, but in general, I would say when you're painting the eye, look at the frame of it, find the two directions of the eyebrow, and then notice where the inner corner of the eye sits in relation to the eye, in relation to the eyebrow above it. So the inner corner of the eye is maybe sitting back a little bit from the eyebrow. So just finding a spot that would say, okay, this is the inside of the eye. And then the next thing I would do is look at the shape of the skin between the eyebrow and the eyelid. And the eyelid to me reads as though it's, if I was to continue it, the diagonal of the eyelash line, that would kind of go, almost run along with the other eyebrow actually. So I'm just finding that edge where the eyelashes stop and the skin above them begins. And after that, I don't even know, I think that's the eyelash line, yeah. And then there is a direction that way too, but I think what I'd rather do, because I want to try and do less always, if you can get away with doing less, do less. Laziness, it's a great thing. You want to try and find, so I'm aiming to explain the shape of the iris now, to see if that's going to give me enough information. So the next thing I'm going to try and do is to place this rectangle almost of the iris along the edge here to see where it sits along the edge of the eyebrow. And it's about halfway, or maybe a little bit, yeah, it's about that far away from the inner corner of the eye on that side. And then I notice that it's slanting down the way here for a short while. And then it's slanting that way. I mean, to make the job a little bit easier for myself, I could go to the 1/4 inch brush, and I think I will. So if you did manage to get a set of these 3 brushes, they're handy for just the shape, and the size of parts. Gosh, you'd think I'm taking the mickey all together. No, Layla, I'm taking 1 more minute. Very good. Oh, I was going to use the smaller one, yeah. Okay, so the blue and brown mix again. Just still working with the same, because my focus isn't on mixing colour here. My focus is on the shape and the tone of things, and really focusing on the shape that this iris is and the slant of it, and I'm not worrying about colour. So I'm going to push up the shape of the iris and stop where the eyelash line is. And I think there's something of an eye there, I know it seems like there's not enough, but really stop with it just having a few things. And I think I will stop because I'm taking the mickey altogether. Thanks very much, Layla. I mean, there's a few other things I would say, and I can share with you tonight if you wanted to watch it, a little video painting an eye and explaining all the things to look for in an eye. Because sometimes you can use colour to really good effect to distinguish parts of the eye from other parts. A cerulean blue in the white of the eye can take it away from looking like the skin, you know. So there's more that you can do, and I'll share that, if it's okay with Vanda, I'll share it on an email with you tonight, because there is more that you can do with an eye, but we get away with it. I think it's all right there. So Layla, thanks ever so much for that. I know I extended, you need to watch me, my children go to me about that, extending the session. Okay, thanks.